Sure. The Supreme I said. A drop of water that emitted 7 colors appeared in front of Zhou Fight as soon as he finished speaking. Then the Supreme Will said, "The reward has been given to you. The danger of the ultimate void battleground has yet to be resolved. What you've done so far is only the first step to resolving this danger. Next, you still have to continue conquering and snatch back more territory of the ultimate void battlefield. Your mission will only be completed when you completely expel the ultimate void race and become the master of the ultimate void battlefield again. Common People's Regal, Lord of 10,000 Evils. I have high hopes for you. Your performance this time has proven that you did not let me down. Continue to conquer more territories in the ultimate void battleground. You don't have to worry about the rewards. As long as you do well, I have everything you want. Do you understand?" "We understand," Zhou Fight and Lord of 10,000 Evils said respectfully at the same time. Supreme I took one last look at Zhou Fight and Lord of 10,000 Evils before slowly dissipating into the ultimate void. Zhou Fight and the Lord of 10,000 Evils slowly stood up. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. "Previously, I didn't mention that I was a clone to Brother Demon Lord. Brother Demon Lord, don't take it to heart. This is all the main body's fault for being too cowardly." Zhou Fight happily pushed the blame to Zhou, who was far away in the Reincarnation Sacred Palace. Then, he changed the topic and said, "However, Brother Demon Lord, don't worry. I'm the main body's origin clone. I'm almost no different from the main body. The main body can also know the situation here through me. Haha, actually, I already knew that your main body had the ability to clone. Therefore, I guessed that you were a clone of him when you came. I just obtained confirmation now. I don't care about that." The Lord of 10,000 Evils chuckled. "Then I'll still call you Brother Common People's Regal in the future?" "Sure." Zhou Fight nodded. "Sure." The Lord of 10,000 Evils didn't care. Who wouldn't have mastered a few cloning techniques to reach their current strength? He really did not care about this. It was fine as long as the Common People's Regal knew about the situation here. It was fine. "Brother Common People's Regal, I'm benefiting from you this time." Then, Lord of 10,000 Evils looked at the 3 golden badges in his hand with a happy expression. Zhou Fight looked curiously at the golden badge in the other party's hand. Was this the supreme proof that the Supreme Will was talking about? What can it do? Zhou Fight asked Lord of 10,000 Evils directly. "This supreme proof is very useful," the Lord of 10,000 Evils said happily. He pointed at the 3 supreme proofs and said, "These 3 supreme proofs are all the nomological essence of a fallen supreme god. They are condensed by a secret technique created by the Supreme Will. Each of them can immediately create a Grade 1 supreme god. 3 supreme proofs can give birth to 3 Grade 1 supreme god experts under me." Zhou Fight's eyes widened. 3 supreme proofs could create 3 Grade 1 supreme god level experts. This effect is so ridiculous. He suddenly regretted it. If he had known that the effect of the supreme proofs was so powerful, he would have asked the Supreme Will for it. With the contributions he had made in today's battle, the Supreme Will might be able to give him 5 to 6 supreme proofs. Then wouldn't he have 5 to 8 more supreme god-level experts under his command? The Lord of 10,000 Evils looked at Zhou Fight's expression and seemed to see through his thoughts. He chuckled. "Brother Common People's Regal, listen to me first. Even though these supreme proofs can instantly create 3 Grade 1 supreme god experts, it also has a considerable flaw. That means that a supreme god who has used the supreme proofs will only be able to stay at the Grade 1 supreme god level for the rest of their lives and will never be able to improve." Zhou Fight was originally very interested in the supreme proofs, but his interest was immediately halved when he heard this. He had the supreme unique Lord talent, the protection of the Supreme Will, coupled with the endless inheritance of the Supreme God. If his subordinates wanted to become supreme gods and walk further on the path of the Supreme God, in terms of difficulty, it would be thousands of times easier than other ordinary god spirits. Under such circumstances, it was naturally impossible for him to want such a flawed supreme God spirit inheritance to limit the future growth of the God spirits under him. Of course, this was still very tempting to those gods who had no hope of becoming supreme gods. At this moment, the Lord of 10,000 Evils suddenly reached out and handed the 3 supreme proofs to Zoophyte. "Brother Demon Lord, what are you?" Zoophyte was stunned. "Brother Common People's Regal, I didn't contribute much in today's battle. I really feel guilty accepting these supreme proofs. I think it's most suitable for you to accept it." The Lord of 10,000 Evils smiled. Zoophyte looked at the other party. Even though there were no emotions on his face, he felt a little emotional. This Lord of 10,000 Evils was capable. "Brother Demon Lord, you should keep these 3 supreme proofs. I don't need them. You've seen my ability. With my ability, it's not difficult for me to want the Supreme God. And Brother Demon Lord's losses today are not small," Zoophyte said to Lord of 10,000 Evils. Then, he looked at the 1,000 Evil army behind him. After today's battle, the 1,000 Evil army had lost more than 2 billion God spirits and Master God tiers. More than 5,000 of them had died, and 3 supreme gods had died. The losses could be said to be heavy. As for him, because of the resurrection altar and the resurrection ability, not a single God spirit died. Lord of 10,000 Evils followed Zoophyte's gaze and looked at the 1,000 Evil army. He took a deep breath and smiled. The losses today are indeed not small, but compared to the results of the battle, this loss is already very good. Moreover, even though I've lost many God spirits, these fallen God spirit slots can be replenished by the God spirits in the battle channel of the myriad races. Even though our ultimate void battlefield is very dangerous, there are also huge opportunities. Many God spirits want to come here. It's just a pity for my 3 brothers. The Lord of 10,000 Evils' expression darkened. The 3 fallen supreme gods were all his good brothers who had lived together for more than 10,000 years. In addition to the traitor, the Flame Duke Supreme God, he had lost 4 supreme gods in today's battle. This loss was indeed too great. When Zoophyte saw this, he smiled and returned the supreme proofs to the other party. "So I'll leave the supreme proofs to you. I won't lack supreme gods in the future, but I can't lack a powerful ally like you now. And you can keep the relics of your 3 supreme gods. In the future, there might be a chance to revive them." "Revive the supreme god?" The Lord of 10,000 Evils shook his head. "That can only be done by some supreme will-level experts who are good at living beings. Keep it." "What if?" Zoophyte asked meaningfully. Lord of 10,000 Evils pondered for a few seconds before nodding. Meanwhile, Zoophyte was also thinking. He already had a supreme god-level subordinate. In order to prevent the death of a supreme god-level subordinate, if he had the chance in the future, his first choice should be to get himself a supreme god-level resurrection lord talent. If he could revive the supreme god, the overall combat strength of his subordinates would increase greatly again. Then, he looked at the drop of water in front of him. Treasure name, source of will, treasure grade, supreme god, treasure effect. It can increase one's willpower potential and strengthen one's willpower. Treasure description. A will-type treasure without the attribute of will. It's the best treasure to nurture and increase the level of will, but it's rare and difficult to collect. Even supreme will-level experts rarely have such a treasure. The source of will? Zoophyte looked at the rainbow water droplet and nodded slightly. He did not know how much the rainbow water droplet could increase the level of his main body's will. Hopefully it could improve a little. Zoophyte was filled with anticipation. Then, he threw it into the number 1 treasure vault and let his main body take it away to refine it. At this moment, most of the soldiers under he and Lord of 10,000 Evils were already exhausted after the battle just now. Therefore, after Zoophyte left a portion of the god spirits to station on base No. 3 and base No. 2, he directly let the god spirits under him rest on base No. 3. From then on, this blazing sun base 3 planet would be their first base camp. As for he brought Bayun and the little dragon back to the Demon Lord base planet to exchange for some treasures. Demon Lord Base Planet. Zhou Fight looked at the Supreme God Realm Monument in front of him and began to check the treasures inside. He had long been prepared, so he directly swept past the uninterested treasures and looked at the city-breaking treasure. Over the past 2 days, even though he had taken down 3 cities of the ultimate void race in a row, outsiders seemed to have it easy. But in fact, Zhou Fight knew in his heart that if he had not grasped the Superlord talent of the Son of Destiny, coupled with the help of the Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade today, it would have been very difficult for him to complete the battle results of the past 2 days. Putting aside the fact that he was not strong enough, Zhou Fight also had a deep impression of the defense strength of the Supreme God-level defense facilities in the cities of the Ultimate Void Base. These things caused he a lot of trouble. If not for these Supreme God-level defensive facilities, he could easily take down more Ultimate Void Base cities with the help of the Son of Destiny. So, the moment he returned, he specially came to search for city-destroying treasures. As he searched, hundreds of Supreme God city-breaking treasures appeared on the Supreme God Realm Monument. Zhou Fight looked at them one by one. Taiyin Divine Needle, Grade 4 Supreme Artifact. Taiyin Emperor used 182 kinds of high-level materials such as Taiyin Moonlight, Laurel Godwood, Taiyin Magic Iron, etc., and refined them with Huangquan Fire, Geomagic Fire, Purgatory Mysterious Fire, and Taiyin Divine Fire. It is said to be indestructible and unbreakable. Military merit required for redemption: 50 million military merit points, 20 Supreme God Mission Medals. Racial Artifact, Holy Spear of Destruction. Advanced Racial Artifact, the racial treasure of the Advanced Bloodline Race, the Destruction Clan, which can destroy most items in the world. Military merit required for exchange: 25 million military merit points, 3 Supreme God Quest Medals. Racial Artifact, Construction with Skybreaking Hammer. High-level racial artifact. This was created by the Supreme God of Creation using a branch of the will-level treasure, Jinmu. It is one of his most proud works. It has a special attack effect on defensive buildings and can easily break through various defensive buildings and facilities. Military merit required for redemption: 15 million military merit points, 6 Lord God Quest Medals. Void Divine Barrier, Intermediate Race Divine Artifact. Open the Void Divine Barrier and turn yourself and the surrounding life forms and things into nothingness. In this state of nothingness, you can pass through most things in the myriad worlds. Required military merits: 3 million military merits, 1 Master God Tier Mission Medal. Zhou Fight browsed through them one by one. After looking at all the city-breaking treasures, he thought for a long time and finally looked at the high-level racial divine artifact, the Construction with Sky-Breaking Hammer. Even though this racial divine artifact did not have the effects of the race, his specialization in defense-type buildings met Zhou Fight's needs. He had the best effect among all the city-breaking treasures. Therefore, Zhou Fight decided to exchange for it. Still, 15 million military merits and 6 Master God-Tier Mission Medals. I don't have enough. Zhou Fight rubbed his chin. He only had a total of 14 million military credits. He still lacked 1 million to buy it. He thought for a moment and contacted Lord of 10,000 Evils, who had just returned to his palace to rest. At the level of Lord of 10,000 Evils, there was naturally no problem of sleeping. But today, he had fought consecutively with several Supreme Gods and was even besieged by several Ultimate Void Supreme Gods. He had almost fallen to a life-and-death crisis. In this situation, his divine body, soul, and even will had been squeezed to the limit. Therefore, in order to make up for the deficit caused by today's battle, he had to rest well. However, even so, when he received Zhou Fight's message, he immediately replied. However, after some thought, he simply turned off the information box and teleported to Zhou Fight. Brother Common People's Regal, what's the matter? Lord of 10,000 Evils walked over and asked directly. I don't have enough military merits on hand. I just want to borrow 1 million from you. Is that okay? Zhou Fight said directly. Lord of 10,000 Evils was stunned before he said generously, why would I need to borrow it? Wait for me. With that said, He summoned a panel and began typing something. Soon, Lord of 10,000 Evils typed it in and sent it. Then, he looked at Zhou Fight and smiled. Brother Common People's Regal, look at the battle channel of the myriad races. Zhou Fight did not ask why. He nodded and opened the battle channel. At this moment, the battle channel of the myriad races was very lively. Countless god spirits were discussing here. The reason why they were so lively was because of the announcement at the top of the channel. Zhou Fight looked over. All God announcement. Congratulations to our Supreme Lord's 4th Reserve Army for conquering a Grade 1 Ultimate Void Base, Kai's City yesterday. Today, they consecutively occupied Sava City and the main city of Wanlong, allowing the entire territory of the Wanlong War to officially return to our Supreme Will Camp. This is our first huge victory in 5,000 years. Let us congratulate the Supreme Lord's 4th Reserve Army. In addition, as a reward, I, Lord of 10,000 Evils, as the leader of the Supreme Will Camp in the Ultimate Void Battlefield, will take out 20 million military merits and 10 Supreme God Mission Medals from the Public Military Merit Award Pool as a reward to our Supreme Lord's 4th Reserve Army. At the end, Zhou Fight's eyes widened. Oh my God, 20 million military merits and 10 Supreme God Mission Medals. This was more than he had earned in a day. That's too much, Zhou Fight said. Not much at all. Today's battle is destined to be recorded in the history of the Ultimate Void Battleground. Furthermore, Brother Common People's Regal and your subordinates destroyed so many supreme gods who were captured. It's a considerable blow to the Ultimate Void race. If it weren't for the fact that there aren't many public military merit award pools, I would have given you more. The Lord of 10,000 Evils smiled. Zhou Fight thought for a moment and nodded. Since the other party had said so, he would accept these military merits and Supreme God Mission Medals. Zhou Fight did not stand on ceremony and accepted the 20 million military merits and 10 Supreme God Mission Medals. Then, he directly bought the race's divine artifact, the construction with sky-breaking hammer. Following his purchase of this race's divine artifact, most of the military merits and Supreme God-level mission medals he had just obtained immediately disappeared. However, Zhou Fight did not feel that it was a pity. Following his purchase of this race's divine artifact, most of the military merits and Supreme God-level mission medals he had just obtained immediately disappeared. However, Zhou Fight did not feel that it was a pity. The key is how to spend it. He had decided to buy this racial divine artifact right away. It was very worth it. He looked at the emerald green war machine in his hand that looked like a model and realized that its form was extremely similar to an ancient battering ram. From the looks of it, its effect was exactly the same as the introduction of the divine artifact he had just seen. Okay. With my current strength, if I activate it with all my might, I reckon I can easily destroy a Grade 2 or even Grade 3 Supreme God defensive building. If I have a Grade 4 Supreme God under my command and have a Grade 4 Supreme God to activate it, even a Grade 4 Supreme God-level defensive building should be easy to break through. Zhou Fight was excited but felt a little regretful instantly. This was because he currently did not have any Grade 4 Supreme Gods under him. At most, he had a few Grade 2 Supreme God Ultimate Void God Spirits. There were none at Grade 3 and 4. Previously, there were a few Grade 3 and Grade 4 Ultimate Void Supreme Gods in the Ultimate Void Army. Unfortunately, they could not be reversed, so they were all wiped out. I didn't. The Lord of 10,000 Evils has won. And looking at Lord of 10,000 Evils, if I go to war in the future, he will definitely follow me and gain some credit. When the time comes, I can take the opportunity to borrow the 4th stage Supreme Gods under him to use this construction with sky-breaking hammer, right? Zhou Fight thought. Zhou Fight did not care about taking credit. It was fine as long as he was better than Lord of 10,000 Evils in the eyes of the Supreme Will. It didn't really matter how outstanding he was. The Supreme Will wouldn't care either. Then, he looked at his remaining military merits and medals. User, Lord of the Blazing Sun, Supreme Lord's 4th Reserve Army, Ultimate Void Battleground, the second leader of the Supreme Will Camp, military merits. 19 million points mission medal. 12 supreme mission medals other reward. 1 chance to advance to a racial divine artifact. And so many military merits and supreme god mission medals. What do you want? Zhou Fight stroked his chin and flipped through the various treasures on the Supreme God Realm monument. A moment later, he shook his head. There were indeed many treasures in the Supreme God Realm monument that even he coveted. Especially when it came to racial divine artifacts. He wanted almost everyone. However, most of these race divine artifacts were of considerable benefits in the long-term development. They were those race divine artifacts that did not have high benefits in a short period of time. It was useless for the time being. This made Zhou Fight hesitate. However, he didn't hesitate for long before making a decision. Let's not exchange for the treasures here for now. There's nothing to be missing at the moment. It's not too late to exchange for it when you lack relevant treasures. Zhou Fight thought. Right at that moment, a void fluctuation appeared not far away from Zhou Fight. Baiyun immediately stood in front of Zhou Fight and looked ahead warily. The Lord of 10,000 Evils also looked warily at the source of the void fluctuation. Next, an ultimate void crack appeared out of thin air and a black-robed figure walked out. It was the Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade who had gone to chase after the 8 Supreme Gods. Your Excellency Heaven Blade. Zhou Fight, Lord of 10,000 Evils, and Baiyun walked over happily. Your Excellency, Common People's Regal. The Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade said in a low voice, Look! He waved his right hand, and the corpses of the 8 ultimate void Supreme Gods appeared out of thin air on the ground. That terrifying Supreme God pressure immediately silenced the entire planet of the Demon Lord's base. These are the 8 ultimate void Supreme Gods that escaped? The Lord of 10,000 Evils looked at the corpses of the 8 ultimate void Supreme Gods in disbelief. Even though he was already mentally prepared for this scene. However, when he really saw the corpses of the 8 ultimate void Supreme Gods, he could not help but be shocked. This was the Supreme God of the ultimate void race. They were best at escaping in the void. In an environment like the ultimate void battlefield, they would only be like fish in water if they wanted to escape and avoid being hunted. In the past, when they encountered such an ultimate void Supreme God who escaped into the ultimate void, they could only look at the ocean and sigh. They had no motivation to pursue at all. They couldn't catch up at all because they had tried it a long time ago. They did not expect that the Grade 3 Supreme God Realm Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade would not only catch up to them, but also kill them all. This would shock countless gods who had fought against the ultimate void race. As expected of a quasi-supreme willpower expert. After the shock, the Lord of 10,000 Evils was envious. A quasi-supreme willpower expert. If he could become that kind of powerhouse, even if the common people's regal made such a great contribution today, he would still have the courage to continue competing with him and the other 2 Supreme Lord Reserve Army for the position of Supreme Lord. But now, after seeing Zhou Fight win consecutively, he felt that he was seriously lacking in confidence. When Zhou Fight saw the corpses of the 8 ultimate void Supreme Gods, he was equally shocked, but not surprised. He had long understood this person's strength after all. Your Excellency Heavenly Blade is really brave. Zhou Fight praised sincerely even though he was not very surprised. Your Excellency Heavenly Blade is already a quasi-supreme willpower realm expert, right? The Lord of 10,000 Evils asked. Just a little more. The Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade said, I'm only a Grade 3 Supreme God realm now. When I become a perfected Grade 4 Supreme God, I'll be considered a true quasi-supreme willpower realm. The Lord of 10,000 Evils was speechless. Isn't it just a matter of time? The current him was almost no different from a true quasi-supreme willpower realm expert. Congratulations to Your Excellency Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade for becoming a quasi-supreme willpower elite. I hope Your Excellency Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade can break through the bottleneck soon and become a true supreme willpower elite. The Lord of 10,000 Evils took a deep breath and congratulated with a smile. How hard is it to take off the word quasi? I might stay on the same level for countless years. The supreme god of the heavenly blade said lightly. Zhou Fight and Lord of 10,000 Evils did not say anything. That was because what the supreme god of the heavenly blade said was true. Since ancient times, there would always be a small group of top supreme gods who comprehended a trace of the power essence of the supreme will and became quasi-supreme willpower realm experts. Then they would be stuck at this stage for the rest of their lives. Only a very small number of peerless god kings could truly break through the cage and surpass the limits of the god spirits to become supreme willpower realm experts. From there, he would rule the vast heavens. Even existences like the Supreme Will and the Crimson Overlord were only a step away. However, it was this step that stopped countless top supreme gods. Frankly speaking, even though Lord of 10,000 Evils said it was a blessing, he did not believe that the supreme god of the heavenly blade could do this, because it was too hard to. As the Supreme Lord's third reserve army, he enjoyed the resources bestowed by countless supreme wills. But so what? Until now, he was not even comparable to the supreme god of the heavenly blade. He could not be considered a quasi-supreme willpower expert and could only be considered a top supreme god. At the thought of this, the Lord of 10,000 Evils could not help but think of the two Supreme Lord reserve armies in front of him. God King Heaven Punishment. Spring Autumn Dharma Lord. Those two. One of them guarded the river of time, eternal and indestructible. The other one had long followed the supreme will to fight against the illusionist clan and was famous across the supreme great cosmos and the illusionist world. The two of them had long become supreme willpower realm experts. As for himself, he was still far from reaching the supreme willpower level. At the thought of this, his expression could not help but darken. Right at that moment, a shocking change happened. The supreme god of the heavenly blade suddenly spat out a mouthful of golden divine blood, and the aura on his body suddenly decreased and became weak. Zhou Fight and Lord of 10,000 Evils' expressions changed drastically. Your Excellency Heaven Blade, what's wrong? Zhou Fight immediately helped the supreme god of the heavenly blade up and asked with concern. After interacting twice, he already felt that the other party was a good friend that he could begin to get to know. Therefore, his concern was naturally sincere. It's just a small injury, the supreme god of the heavenly blade said. When I was chasing these 8 ultimate void supreme gods just now, I killed the last level 3 ultimate void supreme god. I wanted to return immediately. I didn't expect to encounter 3 quasi-supreme willpower experts of the ultimate void race. I had a great battle with the 3 of them and escaped. He spoke very calmly, as if it was not what he had experienced, but what a stranger had experienced. However, Zhou Fight and Lord of 10,000 Evils could naturally hear the danger. Those were 3 quasi-supreme willpower realm experts of the ultimate void race. Moreover, there was a high chance that he was not a newcomer like the supreme god of the heavenly blade who had just become a quasi-supreme willpower expert, but a veteran. Under such circumstances, the supreme god of the heavenly blade could actually fight against 3 quasi-supreme willpower experts and escape successfully. Zhou Fight and the Lord of 10,000 Evils found it unbelievable. Powerful. It was too powerful. Zhou Fight and Lord of 10,000 Evils exclaimed in their hearts. However, when Zhou Fight sensed the condition of the supreme god of the heavenly blade's divine body, he frowned slightly. There were many mutated divine powers intertwining and destroying in his body. Cracks appeared on the surface of the divine spark, and his soul was in turmoil. Even the most important will became a little dim. You call this a small injury? Your Excellency Heavenly Blade, your injuries are not small. Zhou Fight said solemnly. I'm the supreme god of the Saber Tao. I've experienced countless calamities in my life. What's this injury? The supreme god of the heavenly blade was still very calm. However, Zhou Fight could not remain calm. You bunch dancing on the edge of knives really don't care about your lives? You're the fucking strongest protective umbrella around me now. If you're done for, what should I do? He still did not have the strength to fight against a top ultimate void supreme god. Zhou Feit took out a large number of healing pills from his #1 treasure vault without another word, including those that healed the divine body, the soul, the divine spark, the will. All kinds of grade 3 Supreme God Realm divine medicines were taken by him and stuffed into a world ring, finally placed in the hands of the Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade. Your Excellency Heavenly Blade, there are probably more than 1,000 grade 3 Supreme God Realm divine herbs inside. I estimate that you should be able to be saved even if you suffer 5 or 6 more such injuries. Rest well. We'll talk about it when you're better, Zhou Feit said seriously. After hearing this, the Lord of 10,000 Evils couldn't help but widen his eyes and look at the world rings in the Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade's hand. More than 1,000 grade 3 Supreme God Realm divine medicines? Would the Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade be taking them as meals? Also, was this guy really a newly promoted Supreme Lord Reserve Army? His strength was clearly only at the level Master God tier advanced grade, but his attacks were almost comparable to ordinary Supreme Will level existences. The Lord of 10,000 Evils thought that he was rich, but he also felt that he could not be like Zhou Feit, who could take out more than 1,000 grade 3 Supreme God Realm divine herbs at once. They all needed divine crystals. Where did the common people's regal get these things? Could he have inherited the inheritance of a Supreme Will level existence? The Lord of 10,000 Evils could not help but have such doubts. The Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade looked at the world rings in his hand and felt that there were more than 1,000 grade 3 Supreme God Realm divine herbs inside. He could not help but be stunned. This was the first time he had met such a generous person like Zhou Feit in his life. More than 1,000 grade 3 Supreme God Realm divine medicines were given away just like that. What kind of family was this? He was silent for a long time before saying, I owe you more and more. You've saved my life twice. Zhou Feit smiled. The Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade nodded. Right at that moment, a voice appeared in the minds of Lord of 10,000 Evils, Zhou Feit, and the Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade. It was the voice of the Supreme Will. Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade, you have a Supreme Will. Do you want to follow me to a wider battlefield to train? There, the probability of you advancing to the Supreme Will state will increase by at least tenfold. The three gods were stunned. Then Zhou Feit and Lord of 10,000 Evils looked at the Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade. The Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade was also stunned for a second before falling silent. What are you hesitating for? Your Excellency Heavenly Blade. This is a perfect opportunity. The Supreme will personally recruit you. This treatment is not something every quasi-supreme willpower realm expert can obtain. Zhou Feit hurriedly sent a voice transmission. The Lord of 10,000 Evils had the same thought. However, what the Lord of 10,000 Evils said next exceeded their expectations. Lord Supreme Will, can I postpone my trip? The Supreme God of the Heavenly Blade said, Your Excellency, the common people's regal, has done me a favor. Now that he is in such a dangerous place like the ultimate void battlefield, I want to guard him first and wait for him to finish his trip to the ultimate void battlefield before going to the battlefield to train. Zhou Feit and Lord of 10,000 Evils were stunned as soon as he said that. Then the Lord of 10,000 Evils looked at Zhou Feit enviously. This guy is really lucky. An existence with quasi-supreme willpower actually cares so much about him? If the other party really became a Supreme Will Realm existence later on, wouldn't there be a Supreme Will Realm supporter behind the common people's regal? He and the other two Supreme Lord Reserve Army naturally had supporters of the Supreme Will Realm behind them. However, when did they obtain the support of a Supreme Willpower Realm expert? When was the common people's regal? He had just advanced, but a quasi-Supreme Willpower Realm expert had taken the initiative to come and protect him. Now, this quasi-Supreme Willpower Realm expert had even been personally admitted by the Supreme Will to have the bearing of a Supreme Will. His heart immediately ached with such a comparison. What did he do to deserve this? I know what you're thinking, the Supreme Will said, but I have to remind you of something. As a quasi-Supreme Willpower Realm expert, The Void Emperor will definitely not ignore you once you appear on the ultimate Void battlefield to protect Zoophyte. Instead, he will send out an equal or even more quasi-supreme willpower realm experts to deal with Zoophyte on the battlefield. You seem to be protecting Zoophyte, but you're actually attracting stronger enemies for him. If you hadn't appeared, Zoophyte's situation would have been better. The supreme god of the heavenly blade was stunned. He thought of the 3 supreme gods of the void who had suddenly appeared. He had originally thought that their appearance was a coincidence, but after hearing the Supreme Will's explanation, he understood that the 3 supreme gods of the void were probably here for him. He fell silent thinking of this. Zoophyte and Lord of 10,000 Evils were also stunned. They did not expect that Zoophyte would be the reason why the supreme god of the heavenly blade encountered 3 supreme gods of the void at the quasi-supreme will realm. Zoophyte pondered for a few seconds and said, "Your Excellency Heaven Blade." The supreme god of the heavenly blade looked up at him. Zoophyte smiled and said, "Your Excellency Heavenly Blade, the supreme will is right. You can follow the supreme will to train first. The situation on my side, even though slightly dangerous, is still under my control. Wouldn't it be better for you to protect me when Your Excellency Heavenly Blade becomes a supreme willpower realm expert?" The supreme god of the heavenly blade hesitated for a moment and nodded firmly. "I will definitely become a supreme existence. I believe in Your Excellency." Zoophyte also said seriously, "Here you go." The supreme god of the heavenly blade stretched out his right hand and saw a palm-sized sharp blade light quietly floating in his hand. He said, "This is an attack that contains all of my strength. Under the circumstances of guaranteeing a hit, unless the other party is a god who specializes in defense, it's enough to kill a quasi-supreme willpower realm expert in one strike. If used separately, it's enough to kill 4 fourth-order supreme gods before their divine power is exhausted. Leave this thing with Your Excellency." A smile appeared on Zoophyte's face. "Your Excellency Heaven Blade. Between you and me, there's no need to be so polite." The supreme god of the heavenly blade pointed at the world rings in his hand and said, "These more than 1,000 grade 3 supreme god realm divine medicines were enough for he to have the confidence to experience dozens of life and death battles. It's a very heavy gift. Next, he would follow the supreme will to the training ground mentioned by the supreme will. He had a feeling that these 1,000-odd divine medicines would play an incomparably huge role in his training. It might even be very useful for him to advance to the supreme will realm. "Okay." Zoophyte nodded. The supreme god of the heavenly blade nodded and turned around respectfully. "Lord Supreme Will, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm willing to accept the training you gave me." "Okay, let's go now," the Supreme Will said. As soon as he finished speaking, the supreme god of the heavenly blade's body turned into specks of light and disappeared. Zoophyte and Lord of 10,000 Evils waited for a while, but the supreme will did not speak again. Only then did they confirm that the other party had left. The 2 god spirits heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. "I didn't expect it to attract the supreme will." Zoophyte smiled. "With the potential of the supreme god of the heavenly blade, I'm not surprised." The Lord of 10,000 Evils smiled. Zoophyte nodded. Then, he suddenly asked, "Brother Demon Lord, when you fought with the ultimate void race in the past, did you encounter any quasi-supreme will powerhouses who came to attack you?" "Of course." The Lord of 10,000 Evils knew what Zoophyte wanted to ask. He smiled and said, "At that time, it happened so suddenly that the planet of our Demon Lord's base almost fell. But they withdrew their troops the next day, because after the Supreme Will found out about this, it directly sent 3 quasi-supreme will powerhouses to kill their sacred region and personally killed their 5 quasi-supreme will powerhouses. After that, they never did such a bad rule of sending the strong to ambush them again." Zoophyte smiled. "This is the unspoken rule of war. Soldier against soldier, general against general. Both sides of the war have to follow this rule. If you suddenly confront the army, you will be bullying the weak and not following the rules. Then the ambushed party will have a reason not to follow the rules and fight you. You sent a general to kill my soldiers? Then I'll also send a general to kill your soldiers, and I'll do anything. I'll kill until your heart aches and you regret it. Quasi-supreme willpower experts were all seeds that could achieve supreme willpower in the future. Even if it was a supreme will, existences like the Crimson Overlord and the Void Emperor would feel heartache if any of them died. It was not beneficial for either party to continue being so unruly. Then such unruly actions would naturally be forcefully stopped. It was just like how during wartime, it was tacitly forbidden to assassinate the leaders of both sides. This was also an unspoken rule. Everyone was a chess player after all. Winning or losing was only determined on the chessboard. If you lost, you lost. If you won, you won. If you suddenly raised the chessboard and attacked the other party's chess player, what was going on? Who would play with you in the future? Of course, if those who participated in the war were confident that they could win in one go, it did not matter. History is always written by the winners after all. Then am I breaking the rules by suddenly asking the supreme god of the heavenly blade to help me? Zhou Feit stroked his chin and said, "How is this a bad rule? The supreme god of the heavenly blade was not sent by the supreme will. You invited it with your own ability. If you really broke the rules, the three guys who injured the supreme god of the heavenly blade would have caught up by now." The Lord of 10,000 Evils said. Zhou Feit nodded. Then, the two god lords chatted for a while before the Lord of 10,000 Evils left. Zhou Feit also returned to the Eternal Mothership, preparing to use his race's divine artifact to advance. He took out all his race's divine artifacts and looked at them as he began to think. Which racial divine artifact should he advance? Shenyuan Saint Dao Sword, Holy Record, Sacred Spear of Longinus, Book of Life, Venus, Lucky Star. Zhou Feit looked at these race divine artifacts one by one and felt a little emotional. Unknowingly, he already had a pile of the race's divine artifacts that other races treated as treasures. He looked at it for a long time before his gaze finally landed on an ancient, chaotic cauldron. It was the lost Chaos Tao worshipping cauldron, the divine artifact of the human race. This race divine artifact exclusive to the human race could transform the race divine artifact of the people of foreign races into a race divine artifact exclusive to the human race. However, the price was that they had to sacrifice the corpses of the god spirits of the people of foreign races and a certain number of divine crystals. Moreover, that was because the Chaos Will had long died. There was a limit to using this lost Chaos sacrificial Tao cauldron. Even with the enhancement of his Lord talent, this usage increased a few times, but the effect was not much. That was not bad. Zhou Feit looked at this racial divine artifact and rubbed his chin as he thought. He had seen many racial divine artifacts with good effects on the Supreme God Realm Monument. However, because they were not of the same race, it was a pity that he had no use for it even if he bought it. However, if he could upgrade the Chaos Tao Sacrificial Cauldron to a Chaos Sacrificial Tao Cauldron that had no limit to how many times it could be used, he would be able to use these top-grade race divine artifacts. The more Zhou Feit thought about it, the more tempted he became. Then, he no longer hesitated and directly decided to advance to the lost Chaos Sacrificial Tao Cauldron. Zhou Feit placed his hand on the lost Chaos Sacrificial Tao Cauldron and chanted the advancement in his heart. The next second, a large amount of chaotic airflow appeared out of thin air around the lost Chaos Tao Sacrifice Cauldron. These chaotic airflows were like chaos pythons. As soon as they appeared, they quickly and agilely rushed to the surface of the Chaos Tao Sacrificial Cauldron and quickly fused into it. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of chaotic streams of air rushed into the lost chaotic Tao Sacrifice Cauldron. At the same time, the Chaos Tao Sacrifice Cauldron, which should have been very calm, seemed to have sensed its improvement and actually trembled slightly. At the same time, an extremely terrifying pressure quietly rose from its surroundings. When Zhou Feit felt this pressure, he could not help but be secretly surprised. Under normal circumstances, there was no specific difference in level between racial divine artifacts. Be it a true god tier, a master god tier, a supreme god, or even a high and mighty supreme will level existence, they could casually use divine artifacts of various levels and unleash the corresponding effects. Therefore, it could also be understood as an adaptive divine artifact. However, even though there was no difference in level, there was a difference in effect. Therefore, according to the effects of racial divine artifacts, God spirits divided racial divine artifacts into low-level racial divine artifacts, high-level racial divine artifacts, top-level racial divine artifacts. Generally speaking, racial divine artifacts that were very useful to true God-tier factions were called low-level racial divine artifacts. A racial divine artifact that was very useful to a master God-tier faction was called a high-level racial divine artifact. A racial divine artifact that was very useful to supreme God-level factions was called a top-notch racial divine artifact. If one wanted to differentiate these different grades of race divine artifacts, other than looking at the specific effects, the simplest way was to look at the divine artifact pressure that these race divine artifacts carried. At this moment, the pressure emitted by the lost chaos sacrificial Tao cauldron was probably already comparable to a top-notch race divine artifact. At its peak, the chaos sacrificial Tao cauldron was probably a supreme race divine artifact that surpassed the supreme will of a top-notch race divine artifact. Right? This thought appeared in Zhou Feit's mind. A supreme race divine artifact. This was an exclusive term for a racial divine artifact that surpassed a top-notch racial divine artifact. These race divine artifacts could only be possessed by a supreme will. However, even if it was a supreme will, it had always been kept a secret. Most God spirits and even other supreme wills did not know what type of supreme race divine artifact those supreme will existences that had grasped the supreme race divine artifacts had grasped. It was said that the supreme will controlled a racial divine artifact of this level. It was precisely because of that racial divine artifact that he had the confidence to create a great era event like the Lord of all races that affected the heavens. Zhou Feit stared intently at the changes in the lost chaos sacrificial Tao cauldron. He was secretly looking forward to it. At the same time, in the supreme domain, the supreme will's chuckle sounded. The holy word spread throughout the entire supreme domain, but it did not leak out to the Supreme Lord. As expected, he used the opportunity to advance his race's divine artifact on the Chaos Tao sacrificial cauldron. A little fellow who's not even a supreme god is actually about to possess a supreme race divine artifact. My fourth reserve army really surprises me. This is good too. I hope his appearance can give God King Heaven punishment and Dharma Lord Spring and Autumn some pressure. At the same time, an hour later, Blazing Sun Base 3, City Lord Manor. Zhou Feit looked at the Chaos Tao sacrificial cauldron that was gradually stabilizing in front of him, and a smile appeared on his face. It looks like the promotion is complete. He muttered to himself. A moment later, the Chaos Tao sacrificial cauldron completely stabilized. The current Chaos Tao sacrificial cauldron had actually lost its former chaotic talent. Its entire body had turned dark gold, and its body was clearly smaller than before. It looked much more ancient. At the same time, the patterns on his surface changed. Zhou Feit took a closer look. As he watched, his eyes widened slightly. Isn't this what I experienced after I became the Lord of all races? After the Chaos Tao sacrificial cauldron advanced. Why did it portray my experience? And why are there still carvings of all races and people bowing their heads and calling me supreme under my experience carvings? Zhou Feit said in surprise. After the Chaos Tao sacrificial cauldron changed, the changes were too great. How is this a promotion? Those who didn't know better would think that they had changed divine artifacts. He hurriedly looked at the information of the new Chaos Tao sacrificial cauldron, afraid that the new racial divine artifact would change the effect of converting racial divine artifacts. Race divine artifact name, Common Life Cauldron, Equipment Grade, Race divine artifact ability, Unification of all life, Universal race divine artifacts. Place the race divine artifact of the people of foreign races in the cauldron of all life. After consuming a certain amount of luck, you can transform the divine artifact of the people of foreign races into a universal race divine artifact. The successfully transformed divine artifact of the people of foreign races will nourish your luck and augment your own forces. Note: the unification of all living beings can only be used once a day. Race Divine Artifact Description. Common People's Cauldron, also known as the Common People's Unification Cauldron. It's a race divine artifact exclusive to the Common People's Regal. It has the effect of changing the world and bathing the common people. Zhou Feit held his breath after reading it. Then, a look of surprise appeared on his face. The effect of this lost chaos sacrificial Tao cauldron had actually increased so much after it was upgraded. Not only was the usage limit removed, but it was enhanced to be usable once a day. The strongest thing was that he could actually change the exclusive racial divine artifact to the universal race divine artifacts. Such an effect, not to mention supreme gods, even those will-level existences would go crazy. With this common people's cauldron, Zhou Feit could completely transform into a vast number of race divine artifacts to create the strongest race in history. He might even be able to create the strongest patriarch. Among the race divine artifacts, there were also many race divine artifacts that could enhance the patriarch after all. At this thought, the smile on Zhou Feit's face became even more obvious. It was indeed the right choice to use the opportunity to advance his race's divine artifact on this lost chaos sacrificial Tao cauldron. However, it was not without flaws. That was, transforming racial divine artifacts required consuming luck. Fortunately, the racial divine artifact that had been successfully transformed could also nourish the providence it consumed. This way, he might be able to make a profit. After Zhou Feit saw the effect of the common people's cauldron, he decided to try converting a racial divine artifact. The first target he thought of was the Xian Yuan divine sword. This racial divine artifact could be said to be the most important racial divine artifact of the human race. The effects were also extremely shocking. It could be said that it could increase the potential of the entire human race by a huge step. Once the effects of the Xian Yuan divine sword's racial divine artifact radiated to the various races and citizens of the Blazing Sun divine kingdom, the potential of the races under him would undoubtedly increase greatly. However, after thinking about it and much hesitation, he temporarily didn't want to do this. Firstly, this was the first time he had used the common people's cauldron to transform into a racial divine artifact. He did not have much experience. If an accident or something that he did not understand happened, he would not only lose a racial divine artifact, but also the growth potential of the entire human race. That was something Zhou Feit did not want to see. Secondly, Zhou Feit was still from the human race and had grown up listening to the legends of the Xian Yuan divine sword. It was possible for him to radiate the effect of the Xian Yuan divine sword on all the citizens of the Blazing Sun divine kingdom, but he felt a little uncomfortable. It was as if his treasure had suddenly become a public treasure. Even though it was still his when it was public, maybe I'm too narrow-minded, Zhou Feit sighed. However, he did not hide it in his heart. He had never felt like a noble character. He had stepped on the corpses of all races to reach his current position. Righteousness? There is no such thing. He was biased towards humans. I'm from the human race. What's wrong with me being biased towards the human race? One of his goals for working hard to this day was to lead the human race to rise in the forest of races, not to lead the races to rise and fight for supremacy. Furthermore, he had grown up under the protection of the humans. When he grew up, he naturally had to repay the humans and protect them. This was a matter of course. There's nothing anyone can say about it. Zhou Feit stopped thinking about it and began to think about using that racial divine artifact to test the transformation function of the common people's cauldron. Suddenly, a racial divine artifact appeared in his mind. You can try that. Zhou Feit's eyes lit up. Then, he flew out of the city Lord Manor without hesitation and awakened the dragon god of all life. He transcended the heavens and arrived at the planet where the demon lord's base was. This time, Zhou Feit did not disturb Lord of 10,000 Evils. He came to the Supreme God Realm Monument alone and searched for the racial divine artifact that he wanted. Soon, Zhou Feit did not disturb Lord of 10,000 Evils. He came to the Supreme God Realm Monument alone and searched for the racial divine artifact that he wanted. Zhou Feit looked over. Information about the divine artifact appeared. Race divine artifact, ancient spatial illumination mirror, high-level race divine artifact and exclusive race divine artifact of the space god race. It can reflect hidden life forms and items hidden in the interlayer of space and the void. Moreover, it can reduce 50% of the nomological damage from the void race and the ultimate void race. It's a treasure of the space god race. Required military merits, 3 million military merits, 5 master god tier mission medals. Zhou Feit looked at the information about this racial divine artifact and nodded in satisfaction. Space god race. This was also one of the high-level bloodline races in the Supreme Great Cosmos. It was enough to rank in the top 100 of all high-level bloodline races. Being able to use space as their race name was enough to prove their talent in spatial laws. In terms of talent in the law of space, this space god race could indeed be said to be number one among all high-level bloodline races. And this ancient spatial reflection mirror was one of the space god clan's ultimate treasures. Later on, for some reason, this race sold their treasures to the ultimate void battlefield and became one of the treasures in the Supreme God Realm Monument. However, because this race divine artifact was only useful to the space god race, this spatial mirror had always been left in the Supreme God Realm Monument. Until now, no one had exchanged for it. However, that didn't matter. Most importantly, Zhou Feit planned to exchange for it now. 3 million military merits and 5 master god-tier mission medals? I bought it. Zhou Feit did not hesitate to spend military merits and mission medals to buy this ancient space reflection mirror. Then, he looked at his remaining military merits and medals. User, Lord of the Blazing Sun, Supreme Lord's 4th Reserve Army, Ultimate Void Battleground, the second leader of the Supreme will camp, military merit, 16 million points mission medal, 11.5 Supreme mission medals other rewards. None. Zhou Feit nodded slightly before his gaze landed on the ancient mirror that had appeared in front of him. He reached out to touch it. It was warm to the touch. At the same time, he could sense the artifact spirit of the ancient mirror cheering. It seemed to like worshipping him, its new master. Zhou Feit chuckled. With his current status, it was indeed not his luck to be able to obtain a racial divine artifact, but the honor of these racial divine artifacts. In addition, the fact that he had the bloodline of the space gods in his body was also one of the reasons why the ancient sky reflection mirror was so happy. Even though Zhou Feit himself had forgotten when Zhou's main body had absorbed the bloodline of the space god race. That doesn't matter. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm going to remake you first, Zhou Feit said softly. The artifact spirit of the ancient spatial reflection mirror was stunned, not knowing what its new master meant. When Zhou Feit saw this, he explained to the artifact spirit of the ancient sky reflecting mirror as he flew out of the Demon Lord base planet. Then, he summoned the dragon god of all life and used it to travel through the heavens to return to the city lord residence of the blazing sun base planet No. 3. At this moment, the artifact spirit of the ancient sky mirror also knew that its new master actually had the ability to transform itself into a divine artifact of the universal race divine artifacts. He was immediately excited. The status of universal race divine artifacts was much higher than that of exclusive race divine artifacts. Even though he felt a little strange about modifying himself, for the sake of his status, the artifact spirit decided to endure it. Zhou Feit was also very satisfied with the artifact spirit of the ancient sky mirror. It saved him the trouble of persuading him. Then, he didn't waste any time and directly threw the spatial mirror into the common people's cauldron. A supreme race divine artifact? As soon as the ancient mirror entered the body of the common people's cauldron, it sensed the terrifying aura of the common people's cauldron and immediately exclaimed. The next second, a scorching sun suddenly appeared above its head. This scorching sun emitted an extremely terrifying light and heat that shone on its body. Under the illumination of this terrifying light and heat, the artifact spirit of the ancient sky reflecting mirror felt pain and a trace of joy. At the same time, it could vaguely hear the fanatical prayers of all the races coming from all directions. This fervent prayer seemed to be blessing it, hoping that it would advance to a wider world. And with its advancement, it would be able to feed them better in the future. Possess it for the people and use it for the people. This was the meaning of a racial divine artifact. I feel like my ancient limitations have been opened. This thought suddenly appeared in the ancient spatial reflection mirror's mind. Then, he was struck by a strong evolutionary emotion and fainted. In the outside world, as Zhou Fight looked at the cauldron that emitted shocking light and heat in front of him, he felt the change in his luck. Suddenly, he felt a trace of his providence being stripped away from his massive providence and fused into the common people's cauldron, transforming it into the mighty power of the common people's cauldron itself to modify the high-level racial divine artifact in his body. The ancient space illumination mirror. Zhou Fight raised his eyebrows. Luck was originally invisible. Most god spirits, unless they were god spirits who specialized in destiny and the Tao of fate, did not know how to use their power of destiny. Zhou Fight did not expect the common people's cauldron to be able to transform the power of providence and use it for its own use. There were countless racial inheritances in Zhou Fight's mind. However, even so, this was the first time he had seen such a method. I've learned something. Zhou Fight was amazed. Then, he stopped thinking and continued to focus on the common people's cauldron in front of him. Half an hour later, after the common people's cauldron absorbed about 3% of Zhou Fight's luck, it gradually stopped. Boom! A low and muffled sound sounded, and the entire common people's cauldron shook slightly. Then, the lid of the common people's cauldron suddenly opened automatically. A silver stream of light flew out and headed straight for Zhou Fight before stopping in front of him. It was a modified ancient mirror. At the same time, Zhou Fight only felt a stream of luck fly out of the ancient space reflecting mirror and feed into his luck. Then, he felt that not only did the 3% of providence that he had just lost return in the blink of an eye, he had even increased his total providence by 5%. Zhou Fight's eyes widened. This was a total of 5% of luck. Even though this number sounds small, his providence was equivalent to Zhou's providence. What was Zhou's status? It was no exaggeration to say that he could casually take out 1,000th of his providence and bestow it on an ordinary person. It could allow this ordinary person to have a smooth journey and build a Divine Kingdom Lord faction from nothing to become the Lord of the Divine Kingdom. It was enough to show the weight of this 1,000th of luck. And now, this modified ancient mirror had directly fed him 80% of his total luck. Even if this was nourishing providence, it was equivalent to giving him 8 Divine Kingdom Lord factions. Zhou Fight was shocked. At this moment, he even wanted to infinitely modify the race's divine artifact to nourish his luck and allow it to grow infinitely. This way, he might be able to directly make his luck reach the level of a supreme lord. When the time came, what's there to compete for? Even if he didn't do anything, he would naturally have supreme chi to transport him to the clouds. However, he soon thought of the restriction that the common people's cauldron could only modify one racial divine artifact a day. So he could only give up on this wonderful idea. However, we can't let go of converting a racial divine artifact every day. One of the key elements of success is accumulation, Zhou Fight thought. Then, he looked at the information of the modified divine artifact. Race divine artifact, ancient space mirror, high-level race divine artifact, a universal race divine artifact. It can reflect hidden life forms and items hidden in the interlayer of space and the void. Moreover, it can reduce the nomological damage from the void race and the ultimate void race by 10%. It's a treasure of the space god race. Zhou Fight's gaze froze after reading it. Sure enough, after modifying it into a universal race divine artifact, even though the main effect of the ancient sky mirror did not change, the percentage of damage that weakened the nomological laws decreased. Regarding this, Zhou Fight was not surprised. From an exclusive racial divine artifact that could only be used on the spatial god race to a racial divine artifact that could be used on all the races in the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom, the effect would definitely decrease. Zhou Fight was already very satisfied with the reduction to 10%. Then, he didn't stay any longer and rode the Dragon God of all life back to Blazing Sun Base 3. At the same time, Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom, in the Reincarnation Sacred Palace, Zhou was looking at today's battle summary. Under the joint efforts of the two armies of the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom, today, the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom had eliminated a total of 183 beginner-level Divine Kingdom Lord factions, 111 intermediate-grade Divine Kingdom Lord factions, 65 advanced Divine Kingdom Lord factions, and 18 Overlord-level Lord factions. Adding on the enemies destroyed in the Ultimate Void battlefield, they had eliminated more than 400 enemies from the people of foreign races in the capital units, more than 20 billion god spirits, more than 200 million true god tiers, nearly 10,000 master god tiers of the people of foreign races, and 6 ultimate void supreme gods. Most of the god spirits that were destroyed were god spirits from the ultimate void race. And after today's war, after statistics, the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom had obtained a total of 3.5 million mist cores of various levels, origin crystals, skill books, equipment, and basic materials from the capital units. 3,123,342,197,832,342 green bronze tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments, 1,924,231 legendary tier, and below Lord Talent Spheres, a large number of Lord Talent Crystal Fragments of other levels. There were also 312 capital units, 9,782,832,240 units of divine crystals from the low-tier deity level to the high-tier deity level, 123,923,119,182 true god tier divine crystals, 62,133,133,221 master god tier divine crystals, 8,212,391 grade 1 to grade 3 supreme god divine crystals, 8,223,230,942,910,000 low-level to high-tier deity-level divine artifacts, 929,380,000 true god-tier divine artifacts, 1,763,429 master god-tier divine artifacts, 19,384 supreme god divine artifacts. There were a total of about 7,123.321 trillion divine spark fragments, god-tier herbs, god-tier ingredients, god-tier ores, god-tier blueprints, and other treasures. 302,334,238,979 master god-tier herbs, god-tier ingredients, god-tier ores, god-tier blueprints, and other treasures. 652,413 supreme god-level god-tier herbs, god-tier ingredients, god-tier ores, god-tier blueprints, and other treasures. In terms of insight defection, Zhou Fight directly instigated insight defection to have 20,089,997,790 ordinary god spirits, 232,314,231 ultimate void true god tiers, 8,211 ultimate void master god tiers, and 6 ultimate void supreme gods. In addition, the Lords of the Star Alliance had also instigated 74 capital unit soldiers, more than 210 million god spirits, more than 9,000 true god tiers, and 41 master gods. In the end, in terms of the advancement of god spirits, today, a total of 5,131,212,398 legendary tier advanced grade soldiers had advanced to low-tier deity-level elementary grade god spirit. There were also 181,313 high-tier deity-level advanced grade god spirits who had advanced to true god-tier elementary grade god spirits. Another 241 top-notch true gods of the human race and 309 top-notch true gods of the people of foreign races felt their master god-tier bottleneck and applied to enter the Reincarnation sacred palace to cultivate in seclusion to try to break through to the master god-tier realm. There was a high chance that they would officially break through tomorrow. Zhou Zhou's original military strength was 1,040 capital units 7, 213, 416, 634, 48 8,253 soldiers, 6,236.14 million 2,754 god spirits, 2,644,113 true god tiers, 1,254 supremacy gods, and one supreme god. Now, with the addition of these divine spirit experts who had instigated insight defection, the military strength under him had reached 242 capital units with 3, 730, 107, 320, 336, 294,754 god spirits, 2,637,453 true gods, 1,254 master gods, and one supreme god. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction after reading it. After today's war, the troops under he had once again increased explosively. Especially the supreme gods, it went from 1 supreme god to 7 supreme gods. The speed at which the number of supreme gods increased was so terrifying that even those willpower technique factions would probably exclaim. The next day, Zhou Zhou opened his eyes and revealed a smile feeling his evolution. I didn't waste all my Lord Talent spheres and Lord Talent crystal fragments in vain. Now, I'm only one step away from a grade 1 supreme sacred body. After absorbing about the same amount of Lord Talent spheres and Lord Talent origin divine crystals, it should only take me a day. I should be able to advance to a grade 1 supreme sacred body. At that time, I can create the supreme unique Lord Talent myself. I don't need to rely on outsiders anymore. Zhou Fight lamented. The deeper he went into the supreme god level, the more he felt the powerlessness in his hands that had not reached the supreme unique Lord Talent. Those Lord Talents that could play a huge role in killing in the past were almost equivalent to 0 at the supreme god level. And the key to solving the crises that he had encountered recently was almost all related to the supreme unique Lord Talent. Therefore, the current he was very eager and looking forward to whether he could create the supreme unique Lord Talent. Whether he could really advance to the grade 1 supreme god supreme sacred body and create the supreme unique Lord Talent would be revealed tomorrow. Then, he walked out of the Reincarnation sacred palace and came to Mu Gu. At this moment, Wu Xian had already led his soldiers to deal with the Scarlet Broodmother's monster. He was chatting with Mu Gu while waiting for Zhou Zhou. Seeing their emperor arrive, the two of them immediately stood up and said respectfully, "Greetings, Your Majesty. I've already dealt with all the mother nest monsters. These are all the spoils of war." When Wu Xian spoke, there was still a trace of excitement on his face. Then, he handed the 2 world rings to Zhou Zhou. Zhou Zhou took it with a smile and entered it with anticipation. When he saw the treasures inside, he immediately revealed an even more obvious smile. Among the 2 world rings, one of them contained 200 capital units, Supreme God Realm Soldier Recruitment Books, and 200 capital units, Supreme Holy Mage God Recruitment Books. In the other world, there were 200 capital units, Supreme God Realm Soldier Class Change Certificate, and 200 capital units, Supreme Holy Mage God Class Change Certificate. Zhou Zhou could not help but take a deep breath. Even though he was mentally prepared, he still couldn't control his emotions when he saw so many recruitment books and class change certificates. This was a total of 800 capital units recruitment books and class change certificates. He only had 31 capital unit soldiers under his command. This time, the Scarlet Broodmother's harvest had directly doubled his overall military strength. Moreover, these soldiers were all supreme soldiers with the lowest strength of an extraordinary tier advanced grade. They, who were extraordinary tier advanced grade, had already grasped law skills. Although they could not fight god spirits yet, they were not that weak. If any of them obtained the hero inheritance god spirit inheritance, their combat strength would not be inferior to the god spirits at all. Coincidentally, Zhou did not lack the hero inheritance and the god spirit inheritance. He could use this as a foundation to create a terrifying army with god spirit level combat power. At the thought of this, Zhou was even more excited. He forcefully controlled his emotions and looked up at Wu Xian. Then, he handed the world ring containing the class change certificate to Wu Xian. Legion Commander Wu. As usual, you should find reserve recruits to change your profession. This emperor will go to the gate of summoning to recruit new recruits. He said. Yes, your majesty, Wu Xian said respectfully. Zhou nodded. Then, he turned around and flew towards the gate of summoning. In front of the gate of summoning, he came directly to the gate of summoning. He first called for an eternal battleship of the Master God tier advanced grade, then threw all the recruitment books in. Finally, he spent 100 intermediate true God tier divine crystals to recruit all of them in one go and arranged them on this eternal battleship. A total of 400 capital units extraordinary tier troops were neatly arranged in the inner world of the eternal battleship. His expression was solemn. His fighting spirit was raging. This was the power of a top supreme soldier type. Zhou chatted briefly with them and received a warm response from the new recruits. He smiled. Then, he opened the original Dragon Abyss interface of the Gate of Summoning and spent 100 true God tier advanced grade divine crystals to summon 66,666,600 pure-blooded dragons. He also placed them on the Eternal Mothership. Then, he carefully observed these dragons and was pleasantly surprised to discover that among these pure-blooded dragons, there was a pure-blooded dragon. Zhou nodded in satisfaction. The original Dragon Abyss of a true God tier advanced grade had a 50% chance of summoning a legendary dragon every time. This summoning probability was indeed high. Then, he patiently observed the legendary dragon. Looking at it this way, he raised his eyebrows slightly. This legendary dragon was actually a mature dragon that he had seen once. Your extreme world honored dragon. Long time no see. Zhou smiled. That's right. The legendary dragon he had summoned this time was the first legendary dragon he had encountered in the past. The extreme world honored dragon. The ancestor of the extreme dragon. The dragon with the strongest physical body. Ha ha ha! A loud laugh sounded. Then, the extreme world honored dragon teleported to the sky not far from Zhou and looked down at the Lord of the Blazing Sun, who was smiling at him. No, it should be the common people's regal, the Supreme Lord's Fourth Reserve Army. The expression of the extreme world honored dragon did not change, but he sighed in his heart. Who would have thought that back then? He only admired the human lord a little. Now, he had actually defeated all the races in the world and ascended to the position of the Supreme Lord's Reserve Army. He was on par with the three legendary existences. As for those three existences, they were existences that even the Dragon Clan had to look up to at their peak. As for those three existences, they were existences that even the Dragon Clan had to look up to at their peak. Who would have thought that not long ago, he had considered himself a senior in front of him? When the extreme world honored dragon thought of this, his expression suddenly turned strange. This matter would not become something that he and his other legendary dragon companions could brag about in the future, right? Shaking his head, he dispelled the boring thoughts in his mind. He then looked at Zhou again. He watched and watched. Shock and bewilderment appeared on his face. This was because not only did he feel an extremely terrifying threat from the other party, it was as if as long as the other party attacked, he would definitely be killed easily without any ability to resist. This was not the most terrifying thing. What scared the dragons the most was that he felt an extremely terrifying dragon bloodline pressure from the other party. This bloodline pressure had even exceeded the bloodline pressure of their ancestor, the primordial dragon, to a level that they could not see through. What kind of dragon was this dragon bloodline pressure? The extreme world honored dragon was completely shocked. Apart from shock, there was also deep reverence. In front of a pervert like Zhou, he realized that His pride as a legendary dragon had completely vanished. The extreme world honored dragon naturally did not know. Zhou had absorbed a large number of legendary dragons and ordinary dragons' bloodlines. So quantitative changes had long caused qualitative changes. Therefore, his dragon bloodline had long reached the level of a supreme god-level dragon bloodline. Currently, only Lord of 10,000 Evils Azura Evil Dragon has barely reached this level of bloodline. Coupled with his contract with the dragon god of all life, his dragon bloodline added another trait of the supreme dragon god. And most importantly, he was infinitely close to the strongest bloodline constitution of a grade 1 supreme sacred body. With all kinds of factors stacked together, the level of Zhou's dragon bloodline had long exceeded the conceptual limit of the dragon bloodline. This made the extreme world honored dragon feel a sense of awe. Zhou did not think too much about it. He looked at the extreme world honored dragon, whose aura was even stronger than before, and was first surprised. Then, he smiled and congratulated. Congratulations to your extreme world honored dragon for increasing your strength again. The current Your Excellency should not be weaker than the former 10 Master God tiers, right? The extreme world honored dragon said embarrassedly, I have to thank Your Excellency for improving my strength. I missed the part where that's my problem? Zhou was stunned. Your Excellency, do you still remember the last time we met? Last time, Zhou recalled. Didn't I only meet him once? No. Zhou suddenly remembered. He and the extreme world honored dragon had not only met once, but twice. The first time they met was on the final battlefield against the lords of the extreme dragons. It was the first time they met. The second time he saw it was when he was absorbing the first demon's bloodline, Deep Abyss Remnant Will. He was almost possessed by Deep Abyss Remnant Will. At that time, in a moment of desperation, he had used the dragon's sacrifice holy tower to summon the extreme world honored dragon. In the end, as soon as the other party appeared, his incomplete dragon body was shattered by Deep Abyss's glare, and the summoning failed. Zhou was even more puzzled at the thought of this. How did the extreme world honored dragon's strength increase because of me? No matter how he looked at it, it did not seem to have anything to do with him. When the extreme world honored dragon saw Zhou's expression, he did not become a riddler and directly explained. The last time I was shattered by the power of the Deep Abyss divine transformation realm. Even though I suffered some injuries, fortunately, the Deep Abyss's will was only incomplete at that time and did not cause me serious injuries. On the contrary, I took this opportunity to sense the power of the will divine transformation realm for the first time. Ever since then, I've been focused on studying this level of power. In the end, I made a small breakthrough. Towards the end, the embarrassment on the extreme world honored dragon's face disappeared and he revealed a proud expression. There were only about 100 legendary dragons in total. Among these dragons, Deep Abyss could confidently say that he was undoubtedly one of the strongest in the advancement of the will divine transformation realm. The only person who could match his willpower was probably his ancestor, the primordial dragon, first venerable. The extreme world honored dragon still did not know that there was a grade 1 supreme god Azura evil dragon in the ultimate void battleground. He wouldn't think that way if he knew. I see. Zhou came to a realization. Then, he clicked his tongue in wonder. The last time the extreme world honored dragon's body was shattered, he had originally felt a little guilty, thinking that he had implicated him. He did not expect the other party to benefit from this misfortune. Zhou shook his head and didn't think too much about it. After a simple conversation with he ignored he and let he reunite with the other legendary dragons. And on his side, he spent another 100 true god-tier advanced grade divine crystals to recruit the new subjects of today. In the end, he had recruited more than 1.25 billion new subjects today. He had summoned more than 220 million new subjects than usual, including the 13 true god-tier advanced grade god spirits. At this moment, boom, 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 boom. A total of 550 nomological pillars of various colors soared into the sky from the direction of the Reincarnation sacred palace. When Zhou saw this, he smiled again. It seemed that the true god-tiers who had entered the Reincarnation sacred palace yesterday had already successfully broken through and advanced to Master God-tier. This time, a total of 550 intimidators had advanced to Master God-tier at the same time. It directly broke the previous promotion record. Not bad, not bad. Zhou nodded in satisfaction. 550 Master Gods. This number of Master God-tiers was not a small number even for Lord of 10,000 Evils, who had tens of thousands of Master God-tiers. There was even less to say to him. At the same time, the god spirits of the myriad worlds saw this scene. Even though they were already numb, they still instinctively observed the source of the advancement. After this glance, their expressions became even more calm and numb. It was indeed the blazing sun divine kingdom of the common people's regal. Last time, 392 true gods had advanced to master gods at the same time. This time, 550 true god tiers were promoted to master gods at the same time. Throughout the myriad worlds, from ancient times until now, which master god tier had not gone through countless hardships to be born. After countless years and accumulation of resources, one had barely been born. You, on the other hand, have started to do wholesaling. Is there still any justice left in this world? What would those races and factions that didn't even have one master god think? As expected of the Supreme Lord's 4th Reserve Army personally chosen by the Supreme Will, it was unknown which god spirit was the first to sigh. Then, this sentence quickly received the approval of all the god spirits. The other 3 Supreme Lord Reserve armies were already famous and had even become legendary existences. Even for god spirits, most of them had only heard of his name and could not see his divine being. Even though the new Supreme Lord's 4th Reserve Army did not have the prestige and power of the top 3 because it had only been in office for a short period of time, the gods could already tell. This still immature common people's regal had already begun to show off his talents and began to leave a legend of him in the myriad worlds. There was a good saying, never question the judgment of the Supreme Will. The gods couldn't help but think of this. At the same time, Zhou waited for half an hour before the Master God-tier advancement phenomenon in the sky began to dissipate. After all the advancement phenomena dissipated, 550 light pillars of various laws flew out of the Reincarnation sacred palace and quickly landed around Zhou, revealing their figures. It was none other than the 550 high lords who had just been promoted. The moment they appeared, they knelt down and thanked Zhou in unison. Greetings, Your Majesty. Thank you for your nurturing, Your Majesty. We have all successfully advanced to become Master God-tier elementary grade god spirits. Good, good, good. Zhou used 3 good S to express his joy. Tonight, this emperor will personally preside over your promotion ceremony. Thank you, Your Majesty. The newly advanced master gods immediately said respectfully.